Come on. Warren and Carol, the secret to life is always having an answer and being prepared for any
Secret to
question
life
you
is
get in life.
dancing.
I'm with Carol.
Dancing?
It's dancing.
Dancing.
It's dancing. Oh, yeah.
So, well, to me, the secret to dancing, though, is an Uber. Because if I know I don't have to drive home, Rob has a little bit too much fun.
Yeah, well, look out.
The word is
Look
out around
out.
the building.
You've
Don't
seen
invite
all these.
Rob to your wedding unless you don't want to be the focus of your wedding.
What a stunning admission.
Okay, we need to get a video of that.
I think there might
There's
be
one that
from a
exists.
Texas wedding.
Well, there's
okay.
one that that one I'm wearing a cowboy hat. So anyway, and the
Which
other
he
one,
took.
Are you a line dancer?
nah, I don't follow anyone else's line but my own. And the most recent one though, Bernie, that you don't know about, I'll show you the video. They actually captured me dancing with the groom's mom on the dance floor.
No.
What was wrong with that?
She
Probably-
found me.
Was she hot?
Oh boy!
Okay, this is
She
Winging It
found-
Wednesday,
you hear
but
that?
we're not.
You hear that, Warren? She found him.
She found me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're in a runoff, guys. After
And notice
last
he didn't
week's-
answer your question.
You know, Sarah's a few years older than me. Mm-hmm. That's as far cougar as I'm going to go. All right, so we're in a runoff for the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, Perrette versus Thayil. But where did Vanessa Ansman's 22% of the vote go? Predictions for the runoff. Guys, Carol, we'll start with you. Kind of a tumultuous race, I'd say.
Yeah, not over yet.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. There's liable to be more coming out. Anyway, well, you got to figure. We know that on the initial fundraiser, I think they said she raised about $300,000, and Thayil said that Perrette probably spent closer to $500,000, just under $500,000, to get 16,597 votes. I think she's pretty well known in the district. So the rule of thumb is, generally speaking, if you've spent that much money and have that much recognition, name awareness, whether it's good or bad.
More than $30 a vote, by the way.
About that, yeah. And so,
Wow.
The conventional wisdom, which I don't go with conventional wisdom all the time, but it says that you've gotten all the votes you're going to get. I don't know about that. Susan Thayil came within 1,700 votes and spent less than $100,000. So according to her, but I haven't really gone into the campaign finance reports, and I think they
Well,
come
there's been
out.
too much other good stuff to go into.
No kidding.
Why look at that?
And more to come. So anyway, haven't had a chance. Well, I think they do a 10-day reporting right after the election. So we'll see where that goes. But I think that generally speaking, I would say Vanessa Ansman's votes are going to probably go to Thayil. I would think the majority of them, not all of them. You can't predict.
Yeah.
But it should be a higher turnout because there's sales tax. Well, there's the school board sales tax on the April 29th runoff election date. And there are actually 3 millage renewals that I personally think it's important to renew those millages, but I think they're going to get caught up in the anti-school board tax.
We will have plenty of discussion
Frenzy.
on that, of course, coming up to that vote on April 29th. Warren, what do you think about this runoff that we find ourselves in now?
I think that according to the Louisiana political conventional wisdom is that, normally if you have a candidate that is an incumbent or you have one that is really, really a far-out front runner, and if they get forced into a runoff, that really signifies a weakness, and it's hard for them to make that comeback. Because then the voters start saying, well, what was wrong here? I just thought this person was a shoo-in. My brother-in-law told me he was such a good person. My sister-in-law told me she was a wonderful person. And so they were supposed to get 65 or 70% of the vote. And now they only got 30, or whatever it is. And so that's usually if you are the front runner by a wide margin, which Perrette supposedly was like hands down anointed the job. She was just going to walk into it. And then all at once these things started coming out, and there was some things that came out from her past or whatever, which she refuted. But on the same token, she, as far as I know, really didn't go out and get involved with the public. She didn't answer questions. She didn't show up for any of the forums, I believe, or maybe she did for some of them, but so many of them that she missed. There were, it's just kind of like the campaign sort of went into lockdown mode, just hunker down, batten the hatches, and let the storm blow away. And I think that candidacy, I think, is in real trouble. I think Susan Thayol's candidacy was good. She it was unfortunate what happened to the other one, Vanessa Ansman, that she qualified, and then after that the challenges all started and all that. And then what was it? 10 days.
Oh, right during early voting. All during early voting, it was up in the air. You didn't even know whether she
came
could be
back and said she could run, and so that just. She was totally crippled. I think that the last 4 or 5 days she picked up a lot of steam, but it was sad. And so I think going into this runoff, Susan Thayol certainly has it's her race to lose is what I'm going to say. I will say this in full fairness. I do my focus groups happen around the lunch table on Sundays in Church Point because I sometimes have to remind myself that everyone is not as overexposed to things as I am, and seeing the twists and turns of local elections. When I asked about the candidates in this race, you know what the one thing they said? Well, Perret's everywhere. And you know why? Because their source is social media. And if you see what that campaign is showing, it's showing all the
everywhere.
coffees.
Every time you go on
go on, it's showing that. And, it serves as a great reminder, I think, to other campaigns, to us who cover it, that a lot of times perception is reality in these sort of situations. And so where we might say, gosh, we were going to cover all these forums, but all three candidates weren't at any of the forums we covered, it's a completely different story if you look at Facebook. Warren, if you could wrap this one up.
Yeah, I want to say one other thing, what you were talking about your focus groups, that I thought going into this other race, the legislative race, that Jay Swear was a hands-down favorite to win. I thought he would win. Going back about a week before that election, I was at a little gathering of people. Many of them were from Acadia Parish, and was talking to them, and so they were sort of divided. And then this one guy says, "Oh no, I think," he said, "I think, what's the guy's name? Stefanski?
John
He said
Stefanski.
Stefanski's going to win that." He said he has got family that is far and
Big
wide in
family.
Acadia
Yeah.
Parish, that every one of them are well liked. He is well liked. That I'm just telling you, he's going to be hard to beat.
I kind of thought it was neck and neck until I started talking to my friends from Crowley,
Right.
and they were almost uniformly for Stefanski. And I think what hurt Jay Swear was the fact that he's a plaintiff attorney.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, lobby came out and helped
I'll tell you one
Stefanski
other
because he
thing,
was
too,
perceived as
that-
the business
Tell you one other thing too. I think that hurt Jay. I heard somebody talking and said that they did not like the fact that Jack Montresset endorsed him, gave him $500, almost like it was a setup. And the second thing was it said that this person said that anytime they listened to Jay in one of those forums or whatever, he never mentioned cutting spending. He always kind of danced around it and said,
That's interesting.
and said that just sort of like was a little dividing line.
And
I
once again,
think, for one, that issue, it's bubbling under the surface right now when the legislative session starts, but you're seeing more and more fiscal hawks coming on board and saying, we keep doing the same thing over again. We need to look at the spending.
working.
We definitely look at the spending.
we talked about this a little bit. I think it was when when the Foster Campbell race, when he was in it, and you talked about, at your church, the difference in what was put on your windshield at your church versus what was put on your door at your
it was
house.
Scott Angel.
How it was different. Yes, Scott Angel.
It was
Excuse me.
Scott
But it was
Angel.
that, I was
Yes.
thinking it all kind of together. How things were just different depending on where you were. Well, I'll tell you, 2 days before the election, I got an entirely new view when someone brought what was mailed to their house in Crowley to us. It was a completely different view. I mean, we're 20 minutes down the road, and it was a completely
Well,
different
they
view.
micro-target depending on the market. You can do that now, but I want to tell you something. The power of KPEL. I had more people tell me, we didn't know anything about all that controversy until we heard it on the radio because they don't read the newspaper. They don't even go online for stuff.
Very interesting
so
stuff.
radio unto itself, the car medium. You call it the auto medium, the on-the-road medium. That's it.
We will have full coverage, of course, leading up to that runoff. Again, it's on April 29th. Be prepared to vote. We'll tell you when early voting starts, usually about a week or two before. All right, we're going to get a quick break in. It's Winging It Wednesday, brought to you by Service Cadillac. Coming up, what's going on in D.C.? We just talked to U.S. Senator John Kennedy, who gave us an update on health care, gave us an update on the Gorsuch nomination. But where do Republicans move now? Of course, a lot of voters in this area that wanted a repeal did not get it quite yet. 7:26, we're back after this.
I like the morning show because it tells you what's going on in the news.
News and info you need to start your day on News Talk 96.5 KPEL.
Need guidance in a legal matter? turn to the News Talk 96.5 KPEL Legal Authority, Glenn Armentor.
When an automobile accident happens, do not be talked into not calling the police. Do not give recorded statements. Do not settle your case until you know your rights. Do take advantage of our free legal advice by going to kpel965.com and clicking on Legal Authority.
For answers to your legal questions, go to kpel965.com and click on the Legal Authority.
If you're in an accident, call the Armentor Accident Investigation Team free. Or use your cell phone to call for help and capture as much evidence as you can at the accident scene. But never use it to text or do anything that will distract you while driving.
This message has been brought to you by the News Talk 96.5 KPEL Legal Authority, Glenn Armentor. For free help with your legal matter, go to kpel965.com and click on the Legal Authority.
Announcer is a non-attorney paid spokesperson.
Piper's Haven on West Congress Street is gearing up for another great cigar event. Join Renee Girard, Acadiana's certified master tobacconist, to celebrate the Crown Heads. There'll be specials on Crown Head cigars featuring Luminosa, Jericho Hill, L.A. Imperiosa, La Carême, and Las Calaveras. Piper's Haven, 2476 West Congress Street, will be hosting an event of savings from 4 to 7 p.m. on Friday, March 31st. You're going to save when you buy at Piper's Haven. When you buy 3 of the Crown Head cigars, you'll get 1 free. Buy 7 of the Crown Head cigars from Piper's Haven on March 31st, and you'll get 3 free. Buy a box, you'll get an ashtray, a hat, 5 extra cigars. And hey, when you buy the box, Renee will even carry it to your car, or he'll make Chief do it. Look, let's rehearse this. Crown Heads event, great deals, 4 to 7 p.m., Friday, March 31st. Piper's Haven, 2476 West Congress Street, just down from BJ's Pizza.
You've been lied to. Lied to by corrupt Washington politicians and the Wall Street propaganda machine. Hi, I'm Inc. magazine best-selling author Brett Kitchen, and I want to give you a free copy of my brand new book, Wealth Beyond Wall Street, because we all know another market crash could be right around the corner. After losing 35% in my IRA in the crash years ago, I said enough, and since then I discovered a way to grow money potentially double digits, reduce taxes dramatically, and also have my money protected when the next stock market crash hits. When the next market crash hits, you lose nothing. Call Wealth Beyond Wall Street now to get your free copy and talk with a specialist to discover this little-known strategy to get potential double-digit growth during good years and never lose when the next stock market crash hits, all while building a tax-advantaged retirement. Call 1-800-920-8484 to discover this asset that people like Walt Disney and JCPenney use to grow wealthy. Plus, get one of just 97 free books left. We even cover shipping and handling, no credit card required. Call 800-920-8484, 1-800-920-8484. That's 1-800-920-8484.
It's Wingin' It Wednesday, driven by Service Chevrolet Cadillac.
Welcome back to Winging It Wednesday. An email into the KPEL newsroom that said yesterday, Rob and Bernie, you'll have to talk. They knew we were talking to John Kennedy. I guess Brandon and them must have talked about it yesterday on their show or something. And said, you have to ask John Kennedy, what does he think about how disappointed we are that he was among the batch that we voted for based on health care, and it looks like it's just kind of been backburnered and the White House is moving on. Do you really think they're moving on, or is the advancement happening just behind closed doors? Warren, what are your thoughts?
I think they're moving on. That there's so many people put out there that this thing is so convoluted that some of them said if you go ahead and just do an outright repeal on it, then you got all these insurance companies, you got all these reporting things, you got all of that stuff. I don't understand any of it, but I do understand what they're saying. If you just go ahead and shut the door right now on it, you got a lot of mumbo jumbo and who does what, when, and where. I do think I listened to Senator Kennedy this morning on the way over here, and I heard what he said is that it would be nice to go ahead and tweak the bill that he thought the House should have passed, let it go to the Senate, and then they could have amended it and all that, and then sent it back to the House, and they could have changed it, and it would have gone back and forth. Would probably have been the right thing to do. I do think that the whole thing needs to be amended. It needs to be, I don't care if you repeal it or what, it just needs to be changed into something that makes sense. I mean, my God, there's no way you can sit there and say that doctors have got 200,000 different codes or whatever that they've got to input on every patient that comes through, and just all of that, just micro management. And The thing is so flawed. It was flawed from the beginning. It never worked. It's never going to work. And so something has got to be done. And I hope they all come together. As we've said on here many, many times before, let's act like adults. Let's get together and get something done right.
Carol, as good as a repeal sounds, we've been told over and over on your show, on our show, that the market that existed before Obamacare does not even exist anymore. So a simple repeal, maybe one that's 2 years out would be good, but not to just stop it right now. No one would be able to get coverage. What do you make of all that?
Well, they had some transition proposals, I believe, that they could have put in place. And frankly, there never has been, since Medicare was put in 65. Now, I had a little disagreement with a friend of mine. He said it was actually after World War II when they went to employer thing. And I said, yeah, but the government didn't mandate that the employers provide insurance. It was just that they were competing for workers and there was a wage control. So that's why this became the sacrosanct thing that it is today, with employers providing health care. But really, it kicked into high gear with 1965 when Medicare was passed, and we don't have a free market, a marketplace anymore, and won't. Even after this thing was repealed, it would not be. And when you look at the states that have expanded Medicaid, listen, that's the real deal breaker right there. Because what did they do? They increased the amount of money that a family can own in order to qualify for Medicaid. Plus, they expanded the universe who could supply. So this was an expanding program. In Louisiana, look at how it was going to expand, to the point where in a couple of years it might eat up half the budget instead of just a third of the budget. Mm-hmm. So the one thing that I think is a possibility, there was a lawsuit that Congress had filed against this because of the subsidies, illegal subsidies being provided to the insurers. Now, once they put that on hiatus while they were debating the bill. Now that the bill went down, they can reinstate that lawsuit. And boy, you talk about bring down the whole house of cards. They get the subsidies away from the insurance companies. What do you think is going to happen? I mean, they can't continue in the marketplace without those subsidies. Mm-hmm. And here we are subsidizing insurance companies when they should be allowed to compete. So there were many good things in that bill. Was it perfect? No, but it was a first step. Problem was that we've had this over and over again. Yeah, give us this tax increase and we'll give you your tax cut, later on down the road. We'll cut spending later on down the road. We'll do something else later on, kicking the can down the road every time. So all the good stuff was loaded into 2 and 3. Stuff that everybody wanted, selling across state lines, et cetera, no mandates.
Wow. Let's take a phone call, if we could, to wrap up this segment on healthcare. Important issue here in our area. Go ahead, caller, with your comments.
Hey, guys. I keep hearing over and over that our congressmen tell us that they can't just out and out repeal Obamacare because it's just so complex and just so convoluted and everything else. But yet every single one of them got elected on the premise of repealing it. Mm-hmm. So they're asking us to believe that while they were running, not one of them knew how complex it was. So they must really, obviously, they just really take us all for a bunch of backwoods hicks.
Well, caller, you're making a good point, because while they did not have the presidency, they passed over and over again clean repeals, including the 2015 bill that they keep talking about that was a clean repeal. But they knew that Obama would veto it, so there'd be no consequences, and they could continue to run on it. So how hypocritical is everybody up there? I'm sick of all of them.
And I said over and over, too, that they could have a clean repeal and a replacement all in one bill.
They certainly could.
It's done all the time, and they try to act like they couldn't do it.
Something's
wrong.
When you made a point that when they send it to the Senate, the Senate was going to change it, and then it would go into a conference committee, and then the real hashing out could happen.
Well, let's just go ahead and let everyone who's running for office right now, thinking about running for office, that folks who listen to KPEL, they're not backwood hicks. We're close, but we're smarter than your average bear here. 7:35 now. We're back with more details and more incentives at Service Cadillac. Stay with us.
All the action every week. Brought to you by Service Chevrolet Cadillac. Winging It Wednesday continues next.
7:38. Welcome back to Winging It Wednesday. Every single day, as I'm sitting in that traffic on Ambassador Caffrey,
he's sitting in goodness and he's looking good doing it.
I am a fan of the air-conditioned seats in South Louisiana.
Okay. Dude, I have to tell you,
The other day when Bernie and I went to Baton Rouge, you got to experience.
Look at me. I'm like, blah, blah, blah. I loved it so much.
You got to experience the air-conditioned seats. I'm telling you.
Glorious.
Quite nice.
It's great because, it's outside. It's super duper hot. And then you get in your car. You turn those things on. You're like, ah.
Yes. Just checking in from Service Cadillac at 1212 Ambassador Caffrey. My buddy Dean over there sent me a quick text. Save thousands now on all remaining 2016 Cadillacs in stocks with one of the largest Cadillac inventories in the state, by far the largest in the area. Every color, every trim, every price point. Look, when I sit in that showroom right there, I have to tell you, I'm changed. The first time I ever went, I really thought it was going to be all older folks buying Cadillacs.
No, dude.
Since I have been going there, and I see a mixture of 20-somethings to 80-somethings and everything in between.
Well, look, and right now, $15,000, save $15,000 on a 2016 Cadillac CTS.
That's what I got.
That's amazing.
How was that ride to Baton Rouge?
That was beautiful. In fact, I just want you to know that from now on, you'll have to start picking me up for work. And
oh, no.
I think you'll need to be driving me
Driving Miss Bernie.
Driving Miss Bernie.
So thanks to our friends over at Service Cadillac for supporting Winging It Wednesday.
Mostly
and of
when I
course,
ride with him, though,
voice.
he puts me in the trunk. So
come on.
Last week was special. So he's like, hey, you can sit in the front seat. I was like, great.
So let's take some time on state politics and the state issues. Governor John Bel Edwards was supposed to release his tax plan this week, and then he was going to get on a plane and go to the other side of the world so we couldn't find him and ask him about it. Well, he didn't get on the flight, and we didn't.
That was genius.
And we didn't get the plan, or he didn't go on the flight.
Yeah.
So
where was he going?
He's going on the inaugural flight from New Orleans to London.
Yeah.
Oh.
That whole crowd was supposed to be there, and I'm sure we were going to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
He stayed home because he's working hard.
I'm sure they got comp tickets.
Oh, well, never thought about that. We need.
Well,
to get
he was
some
probably
comp
doing.
tickets.
They were probably doing a study on Brexit.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Call it Lexit.
So,
how can Louisiana secede from the Union?
Okay, well, what was it the other day we were at that meeting? And
we are like another country, aren't we?
A guy from New Jersey stands
Yes.
up and says, I'm so-and-so. I'm originally from New Jersey, which is the Louisiana of the Northeast.
Yes.
And then the next and then a few minutes later, another person got up and said, I'm from Romania, also known as the Louisiana of Europe.
Some clever
So,
cats in
I don't
that
know if
room.
we would survive under Lexit, but, Carol, what are your thoughts on the tax plan, kind of where we're going? It doesn't look like it's a tax plan to lower taxes.
Well, I don't have insomnia,
Spoiler
but I
alert.
do go online and look at these things, and it does make your eyes cross and your head spin. All right, this new proposal, it's got everybody over there questioning how this is really going to have an effect on businesses because it's something so totally different. Instead of going on net receipts, now their point is, well, companies can hide their profits by expensing this and expensing that, and depreciation and all this good stuff. So this is a tax on gross receipts. Well, and that is really unfair because because of that, the profit margin for businesses is all over the map.
All
You just
over the
have
map.
no way of knowing. You could really hurt a lot of businesses. Now they're trying to sweeten it up by saying, we'll do like Ohio did. We'll lower it to just 1%. And if you make $150,000 or less, you won't have to pay. You hear all the, you're getting as complex as it was before. And by the way, people who are in an S corporation, as I am, have a threat of being taxed twice, both on the personal level and on the gross receipts level. So, baby, they
Yes.
better look really hard at this. When I first looked at it, I thought, darn, that reminds me of what they did in Europe with that VAT tax because they kept all these other, taxed at but this one is just a tax on gross receipts. So it just doesn't take into consideration all kinds of, and they want to hoover in a whole bunch of different services, like ad sales and, lawyers and doctors and all that kind of stuff. So there's too much up in the air about this. Why don't you just go to a flat tax, please, people? Eliminate some of the loopholes. Make it simple. Make it fair. And shut up.
We're in a situation here in this state where the economy is such that we want to encourage as many people as possible to bring their business here and to do business here. Does a tax plan that seems as complex as what we were expecting do that, Warren?
First of all, I have a new name for our governor. He keeps the same initials, but instead of John Bell Edwards, he is now known as Jindal Bell Edwards.
Jindal Bell Edwards.
Jindal Bell Edwards. He is taken over Jindal's place as governor, and I think that he is. If Jindal didn't wreck this state, or at least put us at 95 miles an hour on the highway to ruin, Jindal Bell Edwards has come along, and he has increased the speed as much as he can. You know, if you start, you know, the man is a pathological liar and probably a sociopath. We're not going to raise taxes. We're not going to raise taxes. He goes out there and does what? Every time you turn around, there's a new tax. There's a new tax. God knows, everybody knows this state needs businesses. This state needs businesses, and businesses are like water and electricity. They flow to the path of least resistance, and it's something called the cost of doing business, and that takes into consideration a lot of things. One of the main things is how much profit are we going to be able to make if we locate in this place, this nation, this state, or whatever it is. And the higher the barrier is there, the less likely they're going to be to come there. And you know, anytime you start just putting another tax on top of another tax, which is what this thing is, and then you turn around, as Carol says, you turn around and you start then, well, it's not going to just be that, but it's going to be a little bit for here, a little bit there. You know, it's going to be 67% based on this and 27% based on that.
And 100% BS.
You've got another array of lawyers and accountants you have to have just to figure out whether or not you did it right, and nobody can tell you whether or not you did it right. All they can tell you is, well, you should have done it this way. And so, you know, it's a horrible thing. I still go back to that Republican plan that Dave Train put out, and that is to totally get rid of the corporate and the personal income tax and replace it
with the Coastal Wetlands Environmental Levy.
With the but his was the $4 per barrel oil processing fee, and that way, you know, the people, every company that left this state would come back and would get a 15% increase on your bottom line because you wouldn't have to pay the state income tax. And all of your workers, they get their take-home pay. They don't have any state taxes taken out of it, and on and on. It made sense, you know. And Carol was quick to point out, well, if they put that on, but they'll still put on other ones, you know. There's safeguards you can put in there to try to stop that. Although in Louisiana, going by the law has never stopped the government from doing it.
Even the Constitution. Gambling is gaming and economic development. Let us not forget that. By the way, you mean that West Point graduate is lying to us?
Well,
the honor graduate from West Point is lying to us? He's already passed $2 billion in taxes on businesses?
Yes, but, yes.
Let me tell you something.
Maybe like his predecessor, Jindal. It wasn't called taxes, it was called service fees or something.
Whatever.
Yeah.
We have a serious, I mean, nobody has to tell anybody in this state that we have a serious problem in not facing reality, not doing the right thing, being too beholden to special interest groups. And I tell you, I saw it from the other side. So, you know, everybody has to come in. This state is drowning. We have best practices right next door in Texas. Why is Texas booming? Creating 40% of all new jobs, even over the Obama administration. Obama should send a thank you note to Rick Perry, because if it weren't for Texas, his employment numbers would have been in the tank, like I think they were anyway. But Texas created 40% of the new jobs created in the entire country. Why? Let's look at their tax structure. They're right next door to us. Why did they attract all the oil businesses over there? They were suffering under the same downturn of oil prices as we were. Why did they move over there? WWTD, what would Texas do? That's all I'm going to say. They have no personal income tax. I mean,
but do you think
it's not rocket science, people? Figure it out.
Like us, that we were facing a $300 million gap, that anyone would even think about doing the income tax? I understand the long-term benefits, but anyone sitting in Baton Rouge, do you think that they would eliminate that stream of revenue?
Well, you eliminate one, but you pick up another one that's going to bring you in more money.
What about the millions and millions of dollars they have? As John Kennedy, when he was treasurer, looked over and over again at those consulting contracts. That what do? Teach kids how to do recess? You know, how to eat lunch? What the heck? These consulting fees are killing us and doing nothing. You saw it on the local level with Smile. Look at all the wonderful programs they administer. Except, by the way, they spent $30,000 sending 17 people to Puerto Rico.
So we're going to take a break. We're going to come back with a tax that I think a proposed tax, 2 proposed taxes that have ruffled a lot of feathers this morning. News coming out overnight. It's 7:48. We're back with Winging It Wednesday, brought to you by Service Cadillac. Stay with us.
News Talk 96.5. Right now, traffic.
Double checking what's happening in traffic. Ambassador Caffrey at South Morgan, a report of a stalled vehicle. Hopefully that's been moved off of the roadway. Make sure that you're buckling up and that you're keeping it safe out there. It is Wash It Up Wednesday. Take your car, get it cleaned up today over at the Wash, right next to Service Chevrolet on Ambassador Caffrey. It is Acadiana's newest and shiniest place and really fastest place to get your car cleaned and make it actually sparkle. The Wash, 1212 Ambassador Caffrey, right next to Service Chevrolet.
New survey, by the way, just hit my email box from Bankrate.com. Louisiana is the 5th worst state in which to retire. Topping the list.
That's why I don't think I can afford to retire.
I was going to say, who retires?
The
Who
worst
retires anymore? We just fade away, huh?
The worst state to retire, Alaska, followed by West Virginia, Arkansas, New Mexico, and then Louisiana. By the way, the best state to retire, New Hampshire, Colorado, Maine, Iowa, and Minnesota.
But how's the food there?
New Hampshire, Maine, and Minnesota. Leave them off my list. Oh, too cold.
You need to play that little clip I got one time about Minnesota, and it was so good. It's all about that they went to Iowa one time, but it was closed.
Look,
and it was all about. It was just all about the snow and ice and such.
Minnesota, you still can't buy liquor or beer on Sundays. And so for our big NFL weekends, and we went up to Minneapolis, we drove 45 minutes over. I guess it's what's the cheese? Wisconsin. It's like 35 minutes. That's all I can think about it because they're all talking about the beer they want to buy. And I was like, what kind of cheese can I get where we're going? Anyway, so
back to reality.
I don't want to go to any of those places. So it wouldn't be a good, I don't want to live in any of those places, I should say.
Why did they say? Because of the cost of living?
Well, they took cost of living, weather, tax, we rated, we were number 6 as far as taxes go.
Well, look at the sales taxes.
Number 1 is Florida. Once again, no income tax. Another big part of it.
No income tax.
So 2 other taxes that are have a lot of KPEL listeners fired up this morning. Well, the cigarette tax, which is expected to go up, a proposal for it to go up from $1.04 a pack to $1.36 a pack. That's the cigarette tax. And then another one, which you might say, well, pass the tax. It's their choice to smoke. Here's another one. College football tickets, $2 per ticket, which if you figure out the average of all the home football stadiums, that just this is football specifically, but it would be for all sports. The $2 for everyone, they would guess that it would contribute about $2.8 million per year to higher education. Once you include everything in, they think it would be around $5 million. That's still such a small amount of what it actually costs, right?
I don't mind them collecting a fee on the ticket sales as long as it stays within a definable sports and entertainment district, which is what we should have in Lafayette for anything surrounding the university for facilities maintenance. And it should not go to the state and then get a portion back. Just to be fair to everybody, you produce the revenue, you keep the revenue right here in Lafayette. Baton Rouge produces the revenue, let them keep the revenue. This whole bit about sending it and then apportioning out based on need, no. Yeah. We've had enough of that.
Warren?
From each according to his ability, to each according to their need.
Jawohl. Sieg Heil.
The communist
manifesto
slogan or whatever. But
no, that was Karl. Was that Karl Marx?
Yeah.
But
look,
I'm not sure.
Talking about the taxes on all of this kind of stuff, it goes back to the same old thing. Why don't we just put a $4 pack tax on cigarettes? How much is that? What is it? 22 cents? What's it supposed to bring in? A lot. Well, put $4 a pack on there. You want people to quit smoking? Put a $10 a pack tax on it. It's not that. It's just a way to get a little bit more money and to say that, well, it may cause them to quit smoking. The poor people are the ones who have to pay it. Well, by God, if you're poor, you'll come near quitting smoking if you got to pay $14 for a pack than you will if you got to pay. What is it now? I have no idea.
Oh, it's
What does a pack
ridiculous.
cost?
It's about $6.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who? I quit smoking when it went 50
I mean,
cents a pack.
think about that. If somebody smokes a pack a day,
Trust me,
wow.
I did think about it a lot. Every time I was smoking and every time I went to go get some more money from that ATM.
I was about a 3.5 pack a day smoker myself.
No.
I smoked
Really?
I smoked
This
for
man
about,
has done everything,
I
I'm
smoked for
telling you.
about 6 years, you know. I quit smoking about 2,012 times.
Yeah.
The longest it was about 20 minutes. And so
And then your heart gave you a message.
No, this was years ago.
It was
I quit
before
smoking.
that, yeah.
Finally, when I decided to quit, I set my goal for 3 days. I said, if I can go 3 days without smoking, I'll have it licked. And listen, I chewed a whole box of gum in that 3 days. But at the end of that
It was
third
done.
day, I was the happiest person in the world. I would still get in my car, and I would turn
yeah.
the key on, and I would push the cigarette lighter
Yeah.
in and grab my pocket, my
Yes.
shirt pocket, and then it would dawn on me.
I forgot about pushing the cigarette lighter in
I
when you
would
get in the
Wow.
car.
push the cigarette
Yeah.
lighter and reach over from my purse and then, oh, wait, I don't do that anymore.
But again,
Wow.
it's gonna be the Laffer curve all over again. The law of diminishing returns. Something you tax more,
Yep.
you're going to get less of it. So they keep pushing up the
Well,
taxes.
They needed the tax. Remember last time when they raised the tax?
Oh, yeah.
It's for the health care of the children.
It's for the children.
So if all these people
the
quit
other
smoking.
thing I want to say about taxing on football tickets and all of that kind of such stuff, the thing that I do not like is some of these sports programs in these colleges that are a drain on the academics of the college, where you've got a lot of that stuff came from Title IX and all that, where you had to have equal amounts spent on different sports and all that. I think that any sport should have a base level of what the university will provide for them, such as one coach or whatever, travel fees
The
that are a
rest is an
minimum.
add-on.
But
No
yeah,
assistant coaches, Warren. Come on.
But look, you
It's
look
a
at
Spirit
some,
Airlines
you
all
look
of a
at some
sudden.
of these
No
col- you look at-
carry-on.
You look at some of these colleges out here, like the one I went to at the big University of Tennessee at Martin. At one time, the football program there was just a drain on the entire budget. I mean, that they have had some pretty good years, but at one time they said that I forgot exactly what. Anyway, a majority of the tickets sold for athletic events went to women's basketball.
Yep.
And the football program had about 5%.
Look, I'll
of
tell you
tickets.
this, and we're going to get to some calls to wrap up the segment. I don't know if UL publicizes theirs or if we request it, they would have to. I would
I doubt that
imagine
they will give it to you.
Well, LSU about 2 months ago published it, and there was a break-even line. They listed all their sports. Football makes about $57 million a
Oh,
year.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Their football
You look
is incredible.
below that, the very last thing is women's basketball, and it costs $200,000 more than what it makes.
That is not the case at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville.
Yeah, well, I can imagine. Let's take a couple phone calls, Bernie, as we wrap up the show. 232-1542. Go ahead with your comment on Winging It Wednesday.
Good morning. No new taxes, period. Until those schools in D.C. and Baton Rouge can figure out if you take in, say, $100,000 a month, you can't spend $300,000 a month. But that'll never happen because I have never seen a bigger group or profession, which is politics, that are the most educated people, but they are dumber than dirty dishwater.
All right. Let's take one more call.
But tell us how you really
Dirty
feel.
dishwater.
That's my new
I
favorite
never
saying.
write that one down.
You're dirtier than dumb, or you're dumber than the dirty.
If you've learned nothing else,
Yes.
the KPEL listeners might be backwoods Hicks, but we will call you out when you are dumber than dirty
Do
dishwater.
not even go there. Backwoods Hicks, they are not.
Don't make me pull out the bleach on you.
Let's take one more call. 232-1542. Go ahead with your comment. You better have a good one.
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello. You're next. Go ahead.
Yes, yesterday we're talking on all sides, comparing taxes individuals pay roughly $3,000 here. In other states, it's $4,500. But other states, they get something for the $4,500. They were saying there's a cushion. We can raise ours to $4,000. You get another $1,000 of nothing from nothing leaves nothing.
Nothing. See, they do know their
Nothing
math.
from nothing means nothing.
from
Not a
nothing
dumb
leaves
country
nothing.
All right, guys. Warren Cottle, Carol Ross.
Oh, yeah.
We want to
Okay.
take it?
No, well,
Let's
that's
do
up
it.
to you. All right.
Fox can wait.
Yeah, there you go. Tell
All
them.
right, go ahead with your comment.
I was just calling to say, talking about cigarette tax, and they use the term sin tax for it, saying, it's bad for people. So, sugar causes diabetes, so why not put a sin tax on any product made with sugar?
Oh, man, I'll tell you what, that's a slippery slope, isn't it?
I mean, it makes sense.
You rationalize stuff like
that. If you want to talk about it's a sin tax, well, because it's bad for you, sugar's bad for you. I mean, diabetes, obesity, you go down the line with it.
All right. So, appreciate your comment.
All right, thank you. There's only one problem with that, and I think that's the addiction side of the sugar that I think people don't understand.
Well, there's addiction side of the cigarettes.
But it is a sin tax. Well, no, what I'm saying is I think people think, oh, it's just because those fat people can't control themselves. But, it's... I see what his point is saying.
Okay, but the fact of the matter is you're not going to change behavior.
I know.
Number one. Number two, the gentleman prior to that was absolutely right. We get how much money for gas taxes and how much of that goes onto the roads.
Okay, but you see, we're also investigating that 11% figure because there's an organization in Louisiana now that has put themselves together, and they're saying that Americans for Prosperity got the number wrong. They're saying
that it's higher or lower?
No, they're saying it's a different interpretation. In other words, what has been quoted is that 11% of the transportation,
every dollar
that out of every dollar,
goes
11 cents goes to the roads. Well, they're saying that's not correct. They're saying that figure is incorrect.
And what are they saying is the correct figure?
They're not saying a number specifically, or did
but
they
I mean,
say
is it higher or lower? They
they're
think
saying
more?
It's much higher. They're saying many more dollars. But that's what I'm saying. So now there's this controversy. So now it has to be investigated. Who originally came up with the 11%? Was it Americans for Prosperity?
No, I think John Kennedy has been saying that all along.
He has been saying it, but he didn't get it from John Kennedy. He got it from somewhere else. John got it from somewhere else. So the question is, where did that 11% that everybody quotes, where did that come from? That's what I've been trying to track down since yesterday.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. Americans for Prosperity do their homework. I know that organization. Right. And they usually do their homework. Now, there are any number of ways to skin that cat as to whether you interpret something is actually going to the roads, like the engineering or the design or the consultants or the administrative.
This nonprofit group that has put themselves together basically in support of the gas tax is made up of groups who are contractors and folks like that. It's Sherry Labas is also in it, the lady that used to work with DOTD. So I think it'll be an interesting conversation that we'll have to have here one day on the show.
Well, maybe they need to do a really in-depth look at where the money goes.
I completely
What's
agree.
coming up on the Ross Report this afternoon at 2?
We're going to be interviewing Susan Thayil.
Awesome.
Yeah, to do a recap on, what she saw during the election, during the campaign, what she sees going forward. It's a very compressed time period. So, and how she spent her money to get that close, 1,700 votes separating the two of them, but a huge disparity in the amount of money spent.
Now, has anyone heard from Ansman as to whether or not Ansman will officially come out and endorse either of the candidates?
I spoke to somebody from her campaign. I don't believe that they'll endorse.
They'll just let people do
right, and I think that's a smart thing. People in that race, especially the people who were engaged enough to vote, pretty much know which way they're going to go. So, I'm sure she has her own personal feeling about who she wants to support, but I don't think they're going to come out and endorse anybody. No, there's really no need to.
All right. Well, the Ross Report comes up 2 to 4
by the
today,
way, we finally heard back from Ms. Santani, who is Candace Peret's spokesperson, that she has agreed to come on the show, probably doing a phone interview on the show. So we just haven't set up the date and time yet, working out the details. So we'll let everybody know when
I think it says a lot anytime we open up this forum in the afternoon with Carol, Brandon and Shannon too, but us in the morning. We open up the forum so that they can speak directly to you, and it says a lot to me. Ms. Thayil has always come in. We haven't ever talked to her over the phone.
Exactly.
So
yes.
Anyway, all right. It's 8:04 now at News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Thanks, Carol. Warren had to run off. Go protect his good name.
That's right.
It's 8:05 this morning. Fox Business coming up, and Bernie has news all ahead. This is Acadiana's Morning News.
Lincoln